what led to Wee Pals? The creation of Wee Pals. What led to you doing that?
Charles Schulz. I saw it. Yeah, I saw. I was first time I ever saw the strip itself. I loved it. You know, I absolutely adored the strip. So I wanted to do what I wanted to do was a Black Peanuts, and sell it to black publications. And I actually told him about that, and he thought it was very interested, and we thought interested in the idea.
When you got syndicated, did the papers know that it was being done by a black man, or?
Yes, yeah, and that was probably a problem. I mean, it didn't. My list grew to about 6 until nothing happened until Martin Luther King was assassinated, and then all of a sudden, you know, the nation began to grieve, and all the newspapers wanted to prove that we're okay, Jack. And it went from 6 to 100 in about. It went from 3 or 6 to 30 in about a month, and a month later, it had reached 100 papers.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always like to say that it was scary. I mean, it wasn't a happy time. I wasn't pleased with the fact that Martin Luther King had died, and that because of that they were taking me because of the grieving, you know, and how long would I last? You know, I mean, this is so. And I remembered what Dr. King himself had said: this nation grieves but for 3 days. And he's so right, you know. And I wondered whether it would be 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, you know, that the grieving would cease.
Now, when I was a kid, and I'm reading Wee Pals, it was more a reflection of my neighborhood. Growing up in Richmond, I mean, that was kind of like my neighborhood. You know, blacks, Asians, Latinos. But how did it go for the rest of the nation? When you got mail, what was your mail like?
There was some people protesting. There was one guy in Detroit that would write me all the time and send me. And in Detroit, in those days, they would talk about a crime, and they would name who the male Negro and so on and so forth. He would send me all this. He would clip all the stuff out of the newspaper and send it to me. And he would say, "This is for my information," and he would say, "When you're through with it, send it to your friend Martin Luther King." I said, "Well, he puts me on a level with Martin Luther King. That's nice, anyway."
Well, at that time, did you feel a special pressure? You're doing a gag-a-day strip.
Yeah.
But did you feel that you also wanted to show, you know, this group of kids, like, I think Rainbow Power was the expression coming out the same.
Exactly. I wanted to do that. You see, my elementary school years was exactly that, because I lived through the Depression. In the Depression years, we were all poor and the same, you know. So all races were involved in my neighborhood in West Oakland.
You ever get feedback from people saying, in any community, black community, Latino community, that you should push the strip in this direction or do this with it?
People are constantly telling me that. I think they probably tell all cartoonists. I mean, if they meet a cartoonist, they probably tell them what they wanted to do. And I used to try to accommodate at the beginning, but I realized you just can't do that. You got to be who you are.
That's what I find most
That's one of the
cartoonists.
things Schulz had said. You know, going back to what his advice to him.
It's basically you write for yourself.
You do for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite, or I guess that's the word, your favorite memory of Charles Schulz?
My favorite memories of Charles Schulz? Well, there's a few. Once he called me and he said that, he asked me, he said he'd heard that Beethoven was blind. I said, well, that's the information I have too. I said, I said he was a Moor, but that's my history. Said if you have a little, you know, in the old days, if you had 8% black, then you 8% blood black, then you're black. So he was considered to be a black. I said, why? And he said, well, no, that's okay. He wouldn't tell me why. And then I saw the strip. Eventually, I heard I listened to black radio, and the guy was talking about check out Charles Schulz, check out Peanuts today. It was on how great it was. And I went and looked at and it was Linus was playing the piano, and Lucy comes over and said, "Did you know that people say that Beethoven was black?" And he looked at her and he said, "You mean that all this time I've been playing soul music?" I thought it so funny, you know. I loved it.
You received the Sparky Award from the Cartoon Art Museum in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that was like?
Oh, it was terrific. It was the high point of my life, actually. Yeah. And I mean, here you're getting the Sparky Award from one of the guys that you admire the most. Not one of the guys, the guy I admire the most. You know.
What advice do you give children, or kids who want to be a cartoonist, and they say, "Oh, how do I do it?"
Well, a lot of the things that we thought, being yourself, do a cartoon about who you are. Don't try to be somebody. I mean, like I was able to take Schulz's stuff and be myself with it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that almost right away. And when I go to school, I talked about education. I mean, don't give that up. You gotta be educated to be a cartoonist. You gotta know what's going on in the world. You gotta be able to read to get ideas. You gotta be able to think. Figure things out for yourself. Because you have a point of view. Each cartoonist has his own point of view, and it has to come from somewhere.